I do hope to get to a point where I'm not filming on the floor, because right now the biggest challenge is my back hurts. Hello, my name is Kira and welcome to my second attempt at the Booktube Newbie Tag. If you're wondering why this is my second attempt but only my first video, well, hi there, I don't know. Newbie Tag. And I already am hating this. I feel... Reading and Booktube will force me not to do that. I can actually branch out. Okay, why don't... Needless to say, we will be reshooting that whole mess. Alright, let's jump right in. Question 1. Why am I starting this channel? I was a screenwriting production major in college, and I have not been able to build my portfolio since quarantine. Needless to say, in Middle America, there isn't much production or screenwriting work, so I started this channel to continue to build my portfolio, keep my skills sharp, hopefully have something to continue going when I do finally move somewhere that does have more jobs in the field, and just have a nice body of work to show off for myself. It's also going to force me to actually keep up with my reading, which will be lovely. I won't be just rereading everything under the sun. And here I am. If this ends up being a long con for a One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston arc, I'm not gonna complain. Question 2. What is some fun and unique stuff I can bring to YouTube? Booktube, whatever you want to call it. I'm not redoing this take again. I do some side animations that I want to add to my video, so maybe just cute little extra visual stuff to add in. On top of that, I've already kind of been planning a reread all your middle school favorite series, and my middle school favorites seem to have not been as popular. Like, I've never heard anyone talk about Books of Bayern or Fairy Path. If they do, direct me to them. I really have wanted nothing but content for those series since I was in middle school. So just direct me to them. If not, I want to be doing a deep dive into all the old fantasy series that I loved and shaped my reading style. And if I keep up with this, maybe having other people send me their middle school favorites for me to dive into and see what exactly made them everyone's middle school favorites, and if they were really as good as we all thought, or if they, like certain series, do not stand the test of time whatsoever. Question 3. What am I most excited about? Like I said, for why I started this, I'm a big rereader, and so I really like that to have this channel, I am gonna have to read a lot of new books as well. So even though I do plan on doing that reread series, I will also be reading plenty of new content and have an excuse to. It won't... I'm a person who feels kind of guilty for taking time for myself, and so this is not taking time for myself, it's taking time for my channel, and my reading is now productive, so I can read as much new stuff as I want without feeling bad about it. And I also I can't wait to see if other people have read just my favorite middle school books. I can't wait to see what people's thoughts are on other books I read. The general addition of feedback and book recommendations, I'm thrilled for. Alright. Question 4. That was correct. One second. Question 4. Why do I love reading? I started reading at a very young age. I think I was about 6. And ever since then, it was just an escape thing. Why sit around and focus on the fact that I'm moving around a lot or deal with homework when I can take a Magic Treehouse ride and learn things about history, or I can go to some country that's falling apart. I read a lot of political fantasy, and so maybe it's not the best escapism, but I don't know. It's just getting into those worlds is beautiful. And as someone who, again, got a degree in writing, I really like seeing the different world building and all these stories in the world and it reminds me that there's infinite stories and no two ideas are the same. And I don't know, it's encouraging. 5. What book or series got me reading? Aside from the obvious one that no one wants to name anymore because a certain author is a TERF. I'd say Magic Tree House. When I moved between kindergarten and first grade, the state I was born in taught reading in first grade, and the state I moved to taught it in kindergarten. So I had to take a remedial reading class so that I would be caught up for my grade. And of course, that class was when my teacher was reading everyone Magic Tree House. So I got out of that class super fast, and then to just feel cool and be like, yeah, I missed the first 3 books, I read ahead, and so I was suddenly like 3 or 4 books ahead of the class, and I was the cool kid, but also not, because I did spend recess reading Magic Tree House. Question 6. What questions do I have for booktubers? My biggest question is, how do you deal with editing yourself? I've done editing for other people in the past. I've edited sketches and whatnot that I've written and had no problem doing it because I wasn't the one on camera. With me on camera, I see all my quirks and I see all my pauses, and right now even, I can tell I'm looking off camera and I feel like that's awkward and it kind of disconnects me from you guys. And so it's just, how have you found tricks for looking into the camera, dealing with editing your voice? My one friend recommended I just animate the whole thing because I once did a 10-second lip sync of myself. That's not going to happen because that 10 seconds took me a whole day and a half of work. These are like 10-minute videos. But just, how have you found workarounds for hating hearing yourself or just being uncomfortable with it? How have you managed to handle that while also, on top of all this, balancing your free time and making sure reading stays fun and not work? And if you work on top of all this, how do you find the time? Because I work a full-time job and this is going to eat my days off, and I know that. So just finding that balance, please help. Question 7, some challenges are very similar to what I just said. I am not used to editing myself at all, and so it's getting over that hill. And it's also remembering that just because filming stuff on my iPad and without a mic would have gotten me like C's in school, this is YouTube. No one cares. No one notices. I'm not trying to film these big professional sketches or these false movies. I'm doing book reviews, and y'all are here for that content, not for how good my mic sounds or how pretty my camera is. I do hope to get to a point where I'm not filming on the floor, because right now the biggest challenge is my back hurts. But that's my biggest challenge, is just reminding me this is for personal fun stuff, and the content is what matters, not the quality of my video right now. So it's getting over that hump for me, really. 8, when did I start reading? Like I said, it was back in first grade when I was reading Magic Tree House to be cooler than everyone. But even before that, like, I didn't learn to read till first grade, but even before that, some of my earliest memories are my mom reading like big fantastical series to me, like the certain, series. So even before I could read, I was very much into the concept of reading, and every night before bed I was having my mom read me chapter books, so I felt so much cool. My little sister was still getting Go Dog Go read to her, and I was in Magic Tree House land. I was in that series land. I want to say my mom also might have tried to read me some Spiderwick, or my brother did, I can't remember, but it was chapter book city for me, and so I've been into reading long before I actually could read. Question 9, which I'm not going to try to hold the fingers up for because I can't count. Where do I read? I tend to read in my basement. There's a nice little corner nook where you can't see when you first come downstairs, so it's nice and private and quiet. If not, I read in bed, because I have this massive chair pillow that looks kind of like a polar bear, and it is the comfiest thing, and it allows me to like prop my book on its arm so that I can lay on my side while I read, and I can just sink into it. If I fall asleep, it supports my neck. It's highly recommend getting yourself a chair pillow with bear ears. They're perfect. And finally, question 10, what kind of books do I like to read? If you haven't picked up on it, I really like fantasy. Some of my favorite series are An Ember in the Ashes. I'm actually currently doing a reread before the final book comes out. I've been vlogging that to try to pick up on it. If the fantasy series has a tinge of romance, all the better, especially if it's angsty. My other favorite series include basically all your expected booktube ones. Ember in the Ashes. Love myself some Six of Crows. I also, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which everyone was talking about, that is actually now one of my all-time favorite books. Outside of fantasy, I have realized that I really like kind of a historical fiction that has done heavy pop culture research and is more pop culture fiction. So famous fake actresses, famous fake bands. If you're thinking I'm talking about Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, you're very right on that assumption. Invisible Life of Addie LaRue kind of falls into that category for me too. And then the Outlier is kind of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is probably one of my favorite books of all time at this point. It had such a nice balance of being a romance book and yet having a strong B plot and background characters, whereas I have tried to read other romance and it lacks that B plot. If it lacks that B plot, I can't handle it. It's not something I really want to read at that point. The only thing I kind of left out of my video is David, my shark mascot. Little bizarre, but I hate taking pictures of myself, so David's just gonna be around on my site. He's gonna be for my icon. He probably will be most of my thumbnails. He's a 3-foot long IKEA shark and the best purchase I ever made for myself. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope I actually continue making this content. I hope I can actually edit this one and make something of it as opposed to the last mess. If I post something else, I'll see you then. If not, please just find my social media and yell at me and remind me this is to actually help my portfolio, and then I will continue.